you have to be very careful of the mainstream media in these times. In the same manner, you have to be very, very careful when you read articles published in the leading medical journals of the world. Let me elaborate. You will be surprised to know that 2/3 of research published in the Lancet, the NEJM, the Annals of Internal Medicine, or JAMA is drug company sponsored. They're all industry sponsored. The amount of money involved is humongous. Let me elaborate. The average amount of money paid for the reprints of a single article in the Lancet is to the tune of £250,000. That works out to more than 2.5 crore rupees for reprints of a single article. And what was the highest or the maximum money given for the reprints of an article? That figure was £1 million. £1 million works out to be 10 crores. Now, do you realize the pressure and the influence which these drug companies have over the editors of medical journals? And what are the tricks which are employed? Because, they do not fiddle with the raw data. They cannot do that. That is too crude and too obvious. But it is the way they present the data in a very subtle and in a very suave manner which manages to influence the readers and doctors. And I speak this against the background of the famous statement made by the editor of the Lancet, who said that 50% of medical literature going around is dubious. And that is a very important statement, a very loaded statement. Now, the tricks which the drug companies employ, they will compare their drug with a drug at a very high dose in order to minimize the toxic effects. The other trick employed is to use it to compare their drug with another drug in a very low dose and thereby amplifying their efficacy. The third trick employed is to have multiple endpoints in a trial. When you have multiple endpoints, then you can pick and choose the endpoints which serve your interests best, which show the efficacy of your drug or your device in the best fashion possible. And the most frequently employed technique is to present your data in relative terms. You loudly proclaim that your device or your drug has reduced clinical outcomes by, let's say, 30%, 40%, 50%, and then get the lay media into action. Now, I'll give you a specific example. There was this big study called the Jupiter trial, published in 2007 in the New England Journal of Medicine. This trial was on a statin. This trial was on rosuvastatin. They took about 18,000 normal people, but with raised CRP levels, indicating that there was some element of inflammation in the body. The average LDL level was about 105 milligram percent. This was brought down by 50% to almost, say, 55 to 56 milligrams percent. And then, of course, came the headlines. The researchers proclaimed, or rather, the drug company proclaimed, that there was a 50%, maybe more than 50% reduction in heart attack and more than 50% reduction in stroke. But when you read the fine print, when you actually analyze the data, you find that myocardial infarction was reduced from 0.7% to 0.25%. That's a difference of about 0.5%. Stroke was reduced from 0.7% to 0.3%. Now, definitely this was a reduction of more than 50%, but in actual terms, this was a reduction of only 0.4 to 0.5%. which means that you have to treat almost 250 people for a span of 2 years to achieve this result. You would get probably the same result, if not a better result, by simply eating healthy and by doing moderate exercise just twice or thrice a week. Now, what about the adverse effects in the Jupiter trial? This was not highlighted, but the fact is they had to mention that diabetes was increased from 2.4% in the placebo group to 3%. That's a jump of 0.6%. Now, if you were to simply exercise and eat well, you would have the bonus of preventing the development of diabetes and even possibly preventing the development of any cancer. So this is what I am warning you all about. That despite the fact that you may be reading the New England Journal of Medicine, the Lancet, or the Annals of Internal Medicine, always remember that the majority of research being published nowadays is sponsored by drug companies. Drug company money is involved. And therefore, one has to be very careful about the results which are published in these journals. The next time, I will discuss a new drug, a GLP analog called liraglutide, which is used in diabetes and which has a study has been published in the recent past, a randomized study once again, and the buzz is that this new drug significantly reduces cardiovascular events. But I will tell you, if you read the article carefully, if you read the fine print, that this is not true. Thank you very much.